Hello and welcome back. This is the last but one module of this entire series on Gemini and ADK, and I'm excited to bring you the concept of callbacks. So callbacks are a very powerful mechanism to make sure that you are able to intercept the functions or the model calls that actually take place. So you can not only intercept but also modify the context that is being generated either by a tool or by a model. So you can register these callback functions with the agent, and they are invoked either before calling the tool or before calling the model or after calling a tool or a model. And you get the opportunity to intercept and occasionally or optionally modify what is sent to the agent. So this is very powerful to apply guardrails and to make sure that the agent doesn't respond in unwanted ways. So let's get started, and I want to show you how to use callbacks with agents. So first we will import appropriate modules. So the most important one here is import callback context. So we'll then define two functions, and these method signatures are predefined. So my before model logic, it accepts a callback context, the LLM request, and optionally it returns an LLM response. So in this function, we'll simply print callback running before model call. We don't do anything. We are just intercepting the function that gets executed just before the model is invoked, just before. So similarly, after the model is invoked, you can register another callback function, and this is called my after model logic. So it has a very similar method signature, callback context, LLM response. The difference here is earlier it was LLM request, what is being sent to the LLM, and here it is LLM response that is coming back from the LLM, because this is going to be invoked after the model response to an agent. And then we go ahead and define an agent, and in this agent definition, we will register the callbacks before model callback and after model callback with the two functions that we defined here. And if you want to do this for tools, then you can actually say before tool callback and after tool callback. So callbacks can be either invoked along with model invocation or tool invocation. So let's go ahead and execute this, and then we will initialize some variables, and then we will set up the session and runner. This is the standard way of invoking any agent. So we will define a session and runner object and return that. And finally, we will define a function that is responsible for invoking the agent asynchronously. So call agent async with a query, and we will go ahead and invoke the agent and print the agent response. So with all of this in place, I can basically make a call to the agent, and this time we are basically asking the agent on what's the capital of USA. It is a very generic agent. So the idea is to show you what happens when you register a callback. Now, when we invoke this specific method and execute this cell, you'll see that first the callback running before model is executed, and then the callback after the model has responded is also executed, and then you'll see the agent response. If you are expecting agent response to be in between, that is not the case because we are running this asynchronously. So first these two callbacks are executed, and then finally we get to see the agent response. So that is how you define methods that are invoked as callback functions, and you register them with the agent, and you have an opportunity to either intercept, which is what we are doing in this demo, or manipulate the context before the agent receives it, before the user receives it, depending on where you actually manipulate the context. So that's the first demo. In the second demo, I'll actually show you how you can manipulate the context. So this is not over, stay tuned. And in the next demo, we will explore how we can not only intercept the context, but also manipulate the context and replace the value with something more useful to the user or to the model. All right. I have started with a blank notebook. So let me first start with the imports, and then we define a function that is going to be executed after the model is invoked. So after model modifier. Now we have already seen this. There is a callback context parameter and the LLM response with the optional LLM response output that you're going to send to the agent. So this is basically going to be invoked right after the model has responded with some value. So in this case, our goal is to basically find if the model has returned with any content. If it returned with any specific content, we will replace the term joke with another term called funny. So this is a slightly rudimentary example where we do a simple lookup in the string and we call the replace function. And once we replace the term joke with funny, we will immediately return the response back to the agent. So new response is LLM response, and we are basically sending the modified response back to the agent. So this is an example of not just intercepting, but manipulating the output that is coming from the model. So let's run this, and then everything remains the same. We are going to define an agent, and we will register the callback, which is simple after model modifier, and we'll have some variables defined responsible for the user ID, app name, and the session ID. And we will initialize the in-memory session and the runner, and we'll call the agent. So let's define the helper function to call the agent asynchronously. And finally, we are going to invoke the agent, and the task for the agent is writing the word joke 3 times. So that is what we want to invoke. Now, what happens is the word joke is going to be replaced by funny, and it is going to come back to us with the modified response. So let's execute this. Now, first, the callback is invoked after model call for agent, then inspected the original response text. The model has responded exactly with joke written thrice because that is what we have asked. Found joke, modifying response. It basically replaced joke with the response called funny, and now we have funny written thrice instead of joke. Now, this is a very powerful mechanism or technique where you not only intercept the response from the model, but also find if the response is appropriate or not. For example, if you want to filter out the competitor name from the response, you can actually do a lookup and you can replace the competition name with a more generic name, and you can avoid showing things that are not intended to be shown to the user. So this is a very powerful way of applying guardrails to model response. Similarly, you can apply callback for request just before it hits the model, and there if you find a question that is inappropriate or it is not aligned with what the agent is supposed to do, you can terminate the entire process then and there, and you can tell that the agent is not designed to respond to those type of queries. So callbacks will give us a powerful technique of using interception and also manipulation of the context. So they will let us apply callbacks that will manipulate the response that is sent to the agent, and we can apply guardrails that is applied just before the output is shown to the end user. Or you can also do this with tools, because if you are performing lookup in a vector database and you have registered a tool to do that, you can follow similar approach to find a term from the tool response and replace it and then send it back to the agent, and the agent will then show the appropriate content to the end user. So that is about callbacks. I hope you found this useful. Both the notebooks are going to be available on GitHub. I'm going to leave the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe and comment on this video. Thank you.